we come together to seek God, trusting that God is seeking us with open arms. All are welcome here. No matter our doubts or questions, where we come from, or who we love, even in the chaotic seasons of life, we are loved by God. All are welcome here. We believe that everyone is a child of God. Every age, race, gender, identity, and creed. All are beautifully and colorfully made and of sacred worth. All are welcome here. We affirm that God is a good God who lifts the oppressed, loves the vulnerable, and is open to all. So we choose to have open hearts, open minds, and open doors to God and to each other. All are welcome here.
Hello and welcome to this gathering of Open. We're so glad to be joining with you today. You are welcome here. I'm Pastor Jonathan Perry, and this is Open, coming safely today from Open and from our homes to join with you in your home. It means so much to us right now to be able to connect in community with you in this way. If this is your first time here, we're so glad to be with you and want you to know you are welcome here. Today, amidst everything from our homes and lives and stories, we come together to seek God, seek to follow God in our world and in this time, seeking to listen and learn together from each other and from the heart of God, to join in the loving work of the God of justice and joy and peace. So to center our hearts around that today, we've got some friends who are going to lead us in our liturgy this morning. They'll be leading us in words that are simple, but they are profound. That wherever you are, wherever you find yourself on this day, in the heart of God, in the love of this community, all are welcome here. So friends, let's lift this up together.
We come together to seek God, trusting that God is seeking us with open arms. All are welcome here.
No matter our doubts or questions, where we come from, or who we love. Even in the chaotic seasons of life, we are loved by God. All are welcome here.
We believe that everyone's a child of God.
Every age, race, gender, identity, and creed.
All are beautifully and colorfully made and of sacred worth.
All are welcome here.
We affirm that God is a good God who lifts the oppressed, loves the vulnerable, and is open to all. So we choose to have open hearts, open minds, open arms, and open doors to God and to each other. All are welcome here.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to Open Worship this morning. We are so glad that you are gathered with us from your homes today. At this time, we'd like to invite you to pop on over to opendtx.com/sign-in. Even if you've done it before, this just helps us get a clearer picture of who all is here. If you are new here or haven't commented before, say hey in the comments. We would love to meet you. And now let's greet each other and let it be known that all are welcome here.
God,
Hey friends, my name is Crystal, and with me today I have my friends Brandon and Clay and Dave and Kelly, and we are your worship leaders this morning. We just want you to know that whoever you are, whatever your story or identity is, God's love is here for you, and so are we. Let's continue to worship together.
Hey friends, my name is Kelly and I'm one of your worship leaders here at Open. Kindness is something that feels rarer and rarer these days, yet we know that kindness is so important. It has the power to transform somebody's day and sometimes the power to transform somebody's life. Everyone is going through something. Every person we meet has a story, has struggled with challenges, and may be struggling with something right now. It can be easy to add to that something, but instead, we are called to choose the transformative power of kindness. Being kind, not fake, not insincere, but truly kind, is to be a force for light in our world. The song that we're about to sing together is an original one from this community, and it reminds us to walk in love and to bring peace into the places we are most afraid to go. Also during this time, we invite you to share any prayer requests in the comments so that we can lift them up together as a community.
Let us sing a song that'll reach your ears and carry us where we belong. Lead us, empower us, and bring us home to you. Give us Jesus' heart and bring us home to you.
May we hear your call to follow you and tell of your great love.
And may we bring your peace
into the places we are most afraid to go.
lead us,
Empower us and bring us home to you.
give us
Jesus' heart and bring us home.
Let our offering rise to meet you. Sweet and fragrant, we will rise to meet you. Let our offering rise to meet you. Sweet and fragrant, we will rise to meet you. Let our offering rise to meet you. Your beloved creation. Oh, oh,
Lead us, empower us, and bring us home to you. Give us Jesus' heart and bring us home. Lead us, empower us, and bring us home to you. Give us Jesus' heart and bring us home to you.
Let us hear your call to follow you and tell of your great love.
Thanks, Crystal, and our fantastic worship team, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for gathering with us. My name is Hannah Phillips, and I'm blessed to be the Assistant Director of the Youth and Families Ministry here at First United Methodist of Denton. But I came into this church and my call to ministry through the open worship community, and I was so thrilled when Jonathan invited me back today to share a message with you all. It's so good to be here with you this morning. Thank you to the team and to you for having me. So last week, Jonathan talked about the fruits of the Spirit, which is this list of virtues that comes to us from Galatians 5:22 through 23. By contrast, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now we're talking about all these things in the context of this beginning of the year series, Refresh, which is wrapping up this week as we move into the season of Lent next week. So the team had to choose just one of those virtues for us to really zoom in on and focus on refreshing. And they decided that maybe the most important one, at least the one that we really needed to revisit and refresh in this moment, was kindness. And I was really excited by that decision because it just really resonated with me. Over the past year, kindness is something that we've seen popping up in unexpected places, but it's also something that I at least have sensed a deep lack of in our society, and sometimes even in myself. When we're so exhausted by this pandemic and its exacerbation of unjust and oppressive systems, or perhaps from being harmed by or fighting to change those systems for so long, it can be really hard to be kind, truly kind to others and to ourselves. When we find ourselves isolated and in pain, and in a world which seems increasingly divided against itself, it can even be difficult to remember what true kindness feels like. So today we're going to refresh our understanding of what kindness means, how we can practice it, and why it matters, because it does matter, I promise. First, I think it's important that we start by distinguishing between kindness and niceness, because we live in a society that often equates the two or uses these terms interchangeably. I think perhaps one of the easiest ways to think about it is this. Niceness is something that we do to fit in, while kindness is something that we do that stands out. Niceness involves minimizing conflict as we move through social situations through actions like smiling or making small talk, or responding to that small talk in socially appropriate ways. Kindness is much bigger than that. In fact, kindness can sometimes directly conflict with the goals of niceness. Kindness has the power to disrupt social norms, and that's part of why it's so important. Let me show you what I mean. You may be familiar with this quote from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail. I must confess that over the past few years, I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I've almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright objection. Letter from a Birmingham jail was written directly in response to statement by Alabama clergymen, a document in which 8 white male religious leaders from a variety of what we'd consider mainline Protestant denominations wrote in opposition to civil rights demonstrations in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963. Among these 8 men, by the way, were not 1, but 2 Methodist bishops. Food for thought. I'm sure these men thought of themselves as very nice people, perhaps even progressive people. And I'm sure that they considered their letter to be nice. Perhaps they even thought of it as kind. But here's the conclusion of that letter. We further strongly urge our own Negro community to withdraw support from these demonstrations and to unite locally in working peacefully for a better Birmingham. When rights are consistently denied, a cause should be pressed in the courts and in negotiations among local leaders, and not in the streets. We appeal to both our white and Negro citizenry to observe the principles of law and order and common sense. What they're asking for here is niceness. Quiet down, let's be reasonable, do things our way, or get out. They are begging for the return of a negative peace. But what Martin Luther King Jr. is telling them is that their niceness is worse than someone else's outright meanness, because their commitment to niceness is preventing them from being kind. Because true kindness knows that justice for the oppressed cannot wait. True kindness seeks what Martin Luther King Jr. calls positive peace. True kindness acknowledges humanity, and it acknowledges harm. And confusing niceness for kindness is a trap that most of us, at least, are capable of falling into, and probably have fallen into before. Author Robin DiAngelo puts it this way: kindness is compassionate and often implicates actions to support or intervene. For example, I am having car trouble and you stop to see if you can help. I appear upset after a work meeting and you check in and listen with the intent of supporting me. Niceness, by contrast, is fleeting, hollow, and performative. Like checking in with someone when they're upset after a work meeting just to be nice, just to seem nice, but without the intent of assisting or intervening. Jesus knew the difference between niceness and kindness. Know how I know? Because Jesus was typically kind, but he was pretty much never nice. I mean, the entire Gospel of Mark is basically just Jesus saying not nice things to the disciples, but doing very kind things for practically everybody, except for a certain fig tree outside of Jerusalem. There's one particular story I want us to look at together, though, to see what true kindness looks like. It can be found in chapter 5 of the Gospel of Mark. So in this story, Jesus arrives somewhere, and he's immediately met by a crowd. Among that crowd is a synagogue leader named Jairus, who begs Jesus to come and heal his young daughter, who's very sick. So Jesus goes with him, but as they're trying to leave, the crowd just presses in closer. And in that crowd is this unnamed woman. The scripture says, "Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had, and she was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, for she said, 'If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well.' Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and said, 'Who touched my clothes?' And his disciples said to him, 'You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?' He looked all around to see who had done it, but the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. He said to her, 'Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease.'" And this is Mark 5:25 through 34. So there are a few things about kindness that we can take away from this part of the story. The first is that true kindness calls us to go out of our way, to be inconvenienced and sometimes uncomfortable. See, Jesus was on his way to save a life, to do something kind for this Jairus person when this woman approached him. He did not have to stop and figure out who it was who touched him. He could have said, "I'm busy," as we all have likely done at one time or another. But instead he took the time to pause and extended kindness to this total stranger who so desperately needed it. Can you imagine, too, the stigma that this woman must have faced because of her condition? Jesus could get caught up in that, or in worrying what others will think, but he doesn't. He just helps her. The second element of true kindness that we see in this story is that it does not ask anything in return. We don't know anything about this woman. We don't know where she's from, or what her ethnicity is, or what religion she practices, what good or bad things she's done in her life or will do in the future. All we know is that she was suffering, she had no money, and she was desperate. She needed hope, help, and healing. We don't know if she believed Jesus was the Messiah. She probably didn't. But we know that she'd heard of his miracles, and that she promised herself that she would be healed if she could only touch his clothes. And when she reveals herself to Jesus, he doesn't ask anything of her, not money, or to go and sell all her possessions, or get baptized, nothing. He sees someone who's suffering, who needed kindness, and believed that he could give it. And so he gives it freely. And we see this over and over again. The third thing about kindness we can learn from this is that kindness can work wonders beyond our imagining, sometimes without our even knowing. When the woman touches his cloak and finds herself healed, Jesus doesn't know what's happened at first. The text tells us that he felt some power go out of him, but he doesn't know who touched him or why. You and I don't have miraculous healing abilities, although if you do, you should hit me up. But we can control our actions. We can challenge ourselves to move through the world kindly rather than just nicely, and we should never underestimate that power and how far it can go. You never know who's watching or listening, or who might benefit from your kindness, or how much. But the more you practice kindness, true kindness, you can know that the more that kindness will touch others. There's more to this story from Mark, though. Remember, when this happens, Jesus was on his way to help this little girl. Here's how that turns out. While he was still speaking to the woman, some people came from the leader's house to say, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the leader of the synagogue, Cherish, "Do not fear, only believe." When they came to the house of the leader of the synagogue, he saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. He said to them, "Why do you make a commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. Then he put them all outside and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him and went into where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, "Little girl, get up." And immediately the girl got up and began to walk about. She was 12 years of age. At this they were overcome with amazement. He strictly ordered them that no one should know this and told them to give her something to eat. First, I want to point out that the people who came from the leader's house to tell him that his daughter was dead and to stop bothering Jesus probably thought they were being nice. They were asking the leader to stop making waves, to give up, to be nice to Jesus, and leave him alone. Surely he had more important things to do. But Jesus responds to their niceness with kindness. The next thing Jesus shows us about kindness here is that kindness is not performative. Remember that part of Robin DiAngelo's definition of niceness is that it is performative. It's designed to make us look better or further our goals. It would have been so easy for Jesus to send these people out to tell everyone they knew about the miracles he performed. But he does the opposite of that. He orders them not to tell anyone. In fact, Jesus does this a few times in Mark. It's almost like he just can't stop himself from being kind and from helping those in need. But these miracles aren't what he wants to be known for. He's not doing these kind acts to look cool or make people love him. He's doing them specifically to help the beneficiaries of those acts. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, this story reminds us that at its core, kindness meets a need and centers the needs of others. We see this with the hemorrhaging woman too. What's the first thing Jesus does after reviving this little girl? He tells her parents to give her something to eat. His concern is with her needs, which he's aware of, rather than his own. He's concerned with the needs of her parents too. When Jairus comes to beg him to help his daughter, he doesn't hesitate. He's not centering his own needs here. And keep in mind, he and the disciples have just gotten off a boat crossing the Sea of Galilee. They're probably hot and tired and hungry. But Jesus knows that the needs of Jairus and his daughter are more urgent than his own discomfort because there's a life on the line. In the end, I think the biggest difference between niceness and kindness is that niceness maintains the status quo. But kindness, true kindness, offers transformation of individuals, of systems, even of the world. And that's why it matters so much. Theologian Joe Lumen puts it this way: rather than maintaining the status quo, to really practice kindness, quote, is to disturb oppression. Kindness is to cause good trouble. Kindness is recognizing, what is it going to cost me, and how am I going to lay it down? This story stands out to me because I actually have my own hemorrhaging woman story. I've struggled with chronic pain and women's health issues for years, and I'm doing better now, mostly. But it's been a long journey. The first doctor that I had on that journey was really nice. She was a specialist who had treated women with my condition for a long time, and she felt like she knew what worked. She very quickly put a plan together for me and sent me off to treatment. And I was excited, I liked her. But the treatment didn't work for me. And when I went to talk to her about it, she was super, super nice to me. But her answer essentially boiled down to, I can offer you more of the same, or I really can't help you. She was caught up in her status quo and performing her job the way she had learned to perform it. She wasn't willing to look outside of it to meet my needs. She was unwilling, or maybe even just too busy, to practice kindness toward me in the way that I needed it. So after a year of traumatic and unsuccessful treatment, I was finally referred to a physical therapist. It was sheer luck that I ended up with Katie, but I did, and her kindness literally saved my life. Katie wasn't interested in niceness or a one-size-fits-all approach. Katie was sensitive to me, my story, my trauma, my needs. She was willing to try new things. When my other doctor's treatment began to actively harm me rather than just not helping me, she helped me walk away and end that relationship. She advocated on my behalf. She helped me set goals and gave me hope. She wasn't performative. She was genuinely invested in me, not just as a patient, but as a person. And I know this because we're still friends today, a year after our professional relationship has ended. She healed my body, but more than that, she transformed my life. Her willingness to advocate for me, her sensitivity to my humanity, and her genuine friendship didn't just keep me going. They helped me to discover my call to ministry. I wouldn't be here today on 5 different levels were it not for her kindness and a million other kindnesses of all shapes and sizes along the way. Kindness isn't easy. For it to matter, it requires us to do deep, difficult work, to be uncomfortable or inconvenienced, to try new things, to pause and reflect, to listen and to think of others instead of just ourselves and our own lived experiences. And I want to acknowledge that, sadly, kindness on its own cannot fix the deeply troubled and unjust world we live in today. Kindness alone is not enough to confront the evils of systemic racism and oppression, homophobia, transphobia, and everything else. But I would argue that those things cannot be transformed without kindness either. Jesus reviving the little girl or healing the hemorrhaging woman didn't do anything to topple the oppressive systems of his day. But those acts of kindness meant everything to those people and the people who loved them. Kindness matters. And Jesus reminds us that when it comes to transforming the world, kindness, true kindness, is an excellent place to start. Would you pray with me? God of kindness, God who walked among us, God who rejects and disrupts the hollow fragility of niceness and demands so much more from us, we thank you for being with us today. We thank you for the great gift of kindness, which your Son Jesus modeled so beautifully for us. We ask that you would help us this week and always to be mindful of how we practice kindness as we move through the world. Help us to listen to and center the needs of others, especially the oppressed, the marginalized, the suffering, and those who are different from us, as we work to make the world more like your kingdom. Challenge us to refresh our understanding of what it truly means to be kind, and help us to let kindness transform us too. Be with us, O Lord, as we seek to follow Jesus in this hurting world. In Jesus' name, amen.
You heard the cry of our hearts, and you came down. Freely you gave us your love, showing us make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is darkness, let me shine light. And may your love cause us to open up, cause us to open shine so bright that we bring hope into the dark.
Hey church family, my name is Crystal and I'd like to say happy Valentine's Day and also share some upcoming opportunities to connect here at the church. Join us for one of our Ash Wednesday worship opportunities this Wednesday, February 17th. For Ashes to Go, you can swing by the church between 7 and 8 a.m., noon to 1 p.m., or 6 to 7 p.m. Just drive up, pray with a pastor, and receive your ashes for self-imposition this year. We will also be offering an online service that night at 7 p.m. If you would prefer to join us online, you can pick up ashes at the Mulberry Street entrance starting today at noon. You are also welcome to use any other household item like glitter or dirt. As with all things this past year, Ash Wednesday will look a little different, but it will be such a meaningful gathering to begin the season of Lent. Our Director of Worship and Music, Josh Taylor, will also be leading a church-wide Lenten study on Sunday evenings beginning next Sunday, February 21st. We'll explore together how God is all around us at work through the ordinary. Visit fumcdenton.com/groups to learn more about this important opportunity and to sign up.
Thank you, Crystal, band. Thank you, friends, for being here. And thank you, Hannah. That was so wonderful and so helpful. Thank you so much. Friends, I want to ask you, as you reflect on this time together today, what is one thing you want to remember or carry with you this week? What's one thing that you want to remember from today? And if you'd like, share it with us in the comments here so that we can all remember and be encouraged in community with each other. What's one thing you want to remember from this? We do all of this together as a community, and a great way to live into that is through open groups. Throughout the week, there are opportunities to connect with others in groups and in growth opportunities. You can go to opendtx.com/groups to learn more about the awesome opportunities to connect and learn and grow together. This week on Monday night is Pub Theology with Jenny and Laura talking about gender. It will be a powerful, powerful conversation together, and so join that on Facebook Live. Also on Wednesday night, we have open game night this week at 8 o'clock on Zoom. So join with us on one of these groups or some of the others that are available there as well. Also, if you're a kid or if you have kids, next week our kids ministry is starting Sunday school time right before open. And we'd love to see you kids for this fun, interactive time, geared for everyone, but especially for kindergarten through 5th grade. You can go to fumcdenton.com/kids to learn more about that opportunity and to register for the Zoom time together. Around my house, we are so excited, and so we can't wait to see you as well. We want to continue to thank you for the ways that you're supporting this community with deep love and care and generosity. Each week you can do that by going to opendtx.com/give to support this community that's a beacon of good for so many. Thank you. And finally, let us know you're here this week at opendtx.com/sign-in. It helps us whenever you watch to get a good picture of this community and to stay connected to each other. So thank you so much for signing in and doing that. And so now, as you go into the world or into your neighborhoods, moving forward in love, take these words of hope and benediction from Hannah with you as you go until we meet again.
Friends, I hope that the love of God and of this community empower you this week. I pray that you will shine kindness into the world and let the kindness of others transform you. Go in grace, go in peace, and go in the love of God. Amen.
You heard the cry of our hearts, and you came down. Freely you gave us your love, showing us make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is darkness, let me shine.